Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Right there on the right is Richard Allen's house. This is going to be Richard Allen's drive and movements that day, all up until the time of the homicides of Abby and Libby. So currently the vehicle just left his house and is heading on, I believe it's 200 north, west 200 north. And then eventually it'll turn left on 450. This is how I think he got there, because he comes to the crime scene from the east as he drives by the Hoosier Harvest Store. I think Richard Allen would have wanted to avoid any cameras, or as many cameras as possible. I mean, when he's out on this rural road here, 200 heading east, I think there's a very good chance he's not going to do that. Now, right now he's passing over State Road 25, I think the new one. That's the one that goes underneath the Freedom Bridge. And I'm just going to let this play, so I'm not going to be able to stop and verify on any maps or anything like that. But on 450, I believe is the name of the street that he heads north on. It's the only one that kind of cuts across, and then eventually you can get over Deer Creek by going over the Wilson Bridge. Now the drive there probably takes 10 minutes. If you notice at the top of the screen, I have the time of day it would have been. These are all estimates, of course, but they're pretty close. And you're going to go through in this video the different times where Richard Allen passes different people. Betsy, Blair, the three girls, when he would have ran into Abby and Libby. And this will just give you kind of a visualization of the entire day for Richard Allen. I'm not, obviously I don't have a reenactment of the crime itself, but this is what he would have been doing that day. And I do believe he went this direction to get there. It's only a 10-minute drive. So here's 450 right here. Turns left. And when I was out there, there was an actual bald eagle on the ground. Right there on the right, see that darkness? There's the bald eagle, see the white head on it? And then on the ground right there, there was a cat, it looked like. A black cat, unfortunately. Alright, so this wasted about, 4 or 5 seconds as I slowed down there. So I'm heading north now, and the next time I turn will be on, I think it's west 300 north. Or maybe it's north 300 west. I think it's west 300 north, though. If my memory's correct. Getting old, though. Getting old. And eventually we go over the Wilson Bridge, and that's the same bridge that Derek went over when he was coming back from Frankfurt from doing an appraisal photo shoot, I guess, for Becky. And he was to pick the girls up an hour and a half to 2 hours. There was no set time. I know a lot of people out there seem to mention, oh yeah, they're supposed to pick, he was supposed to pick them up at a certain time, but there wasn't any time set. It was between, you know, I guess it would have been between something like 3 and 3:30. Or maybe like 3:15 and 3:45. He got there at the earlier part of it. And I believe right here is, yeah, there it is, 300 North. And now we're heading towards the Monenhigh Bridge and the cemeteries in this direction, the parking area. It's all in that direction. We're heading towards the Monenhigh Bridge right now. In a minute here, it starts sort of winding through a nicer neighborhood of nicer homes. And here is the Wilson Bridge. Now, Derek says he called Libby's phone at 3:11 while crossing this bridge. And then about 3:15 is when he called Libby from the Mears parking spot. So there's a Mears property, and then you can pull into a parking spot just to the left. And as you can see, it was probably about 1:23 and 50 seconds or so when Derek drove over the Wilson Bridge. And in this video, it's actually, you know, this is representing what Richard Allen was doing, but maybe we could time that. So let's see how many minutes it takes. I think it's like 3-4 minutes to get to the parking spot across from the Mears property. And pretty soon here, the road sort of veers off to the right, but you can stay left on 300. And it says, interviews were conducted with 3 juvenile girls, RV, BW, and AS. They advised they were on the Monenhigh Bridge Trail on February 13, 2017. They advised they were walking on the trail towards the Freedom Bridge to go home when they encountered a male walking from the Freedom Bridge towards the Monenhigh Bridge. BW showed investigators photographs she took on her phone while she was on the trail that day. The photographs included a photo of the Monenhigh Bridge taken at 12:43 p.m. and another taken at 1:26 p.m. of the bench east of the Freedom Bridge. BW advised after she took the photo of the bench, they started walking towards the Freedom Bridge. She advised that was when they encountered the man who matched the description of the photograph taken from victim 2's video. And as we'll see, that is Richard Allen. I put out a video yesterday showing how Richard Allen answers all the questions that law enforcement had over the years. Who was the person the 3 girls saw? Who was the person Betsy Blair saw? Whose vehicle was parked at the abandoned CPS building? Whose bullet was left at the crime scene with the matching ejection marks? And right here is the Mears property. See that fence on the left? That was the parking area at the time. That fence blocked where cars used to park. Investigators discovered Richard Allen owned two vehicles in 2017, a 2016 black Ford Focus and a 2006 gray Ford Focus. That's Hoosier Harvester on the right. Investigators observed a vehicle that resembled Allen's 2016 Ford Focus on the Hoosier Harvester video at 1:27 p.m., traveling westbound on CR 300 North in front of the Hoosier Harvester, which coincided with the time that he had given of arriving there at 1:30. And just around this corner here is where the abandoned CPS building used to be. You can kind of see the cement on the ground that was the foundation of the old CPS building. And he would have parked his car pretty much, in this area here, backed in. And then I went out there when I was there, and I used a 360-degree camera and walked from the abandoned CPS building to the Freedom Bridge right here. And then I turned around and came back. But I have other video when I went out there with Robert Ives, and we walked all the way to the Monon High Bridge. So you could just consider this to be Richard Allen. Look at the time up there, 1:28. Now he could have sat in his car and waited around, or he could have walked slower to the bridge. Don't really know the exact time, but I think he passed the girls, in my opinion, about 1:33, 1:34. Could have been earlier, because even in this video, when Robert Ives and my wife and I all walked to the bridge, now we're walking at a fast pace, all right, and we still get there around, I think it was around that 1:44 to the bridge, the Monon High Bridge. Mr. Allen was on the trail between 1:30 and 3:30. He parked at the old Farm Bureau building and walked to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw three females. He noted one was taller and had brown or black hair. He did not remember description, nor did he speak with them. He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge. He did not see anybody, although he stated he was watching a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. He stated there were vehicles parked at the High Bridge trailhead, however did not pay attention to them. He did not take any photos or video. Now I'm thinking that he's putting in that there were vehicles parked at the Mears property area because he wants to imply that there was somebody else. Remember, that was in his interview after he was being questioned in October of 2022. So he wants to imply that there was other people there, because if there aren't other people there, it means that he is the only person there, and he doesn't want that to be the case. So here's the Freedom Bridge. Richard Allen would have been walking around just like this. He said he parked by the side of an old building. Now he mentions he parked at the Farm Bureau building, but there is not one anywhere near here. It's in downtown Delphi. And right now we're at the Freedom Bridge. It's like a circular paved area here that you can hang out on, read some signs and so forth. Back then, I don't know if all of this was there yet, all of the signs, etc. But this trail here used to be just gravel and dirt. Now, I think I just switched cameras to the time when I was out there with Robert Ives and my wife. Yep, there he is right there. And right now it's about 1:31, and apparently right where the pavement shifts in color there, that's where Richard Allen passed the three girls. On October 13, 2022, Richard Allen was interviewed again by investigators. He advised he was on the trails on February 13, 2017. He stated he saw juvenile girls on the trails east of the Freedom Bridge and that he went onto the Monenhigh Bridge. Richard Allen further stated he went out on the Monenhigh Bridge to watch the fish. Later in his statement, he said he walked out onto the first platform on the bridge. And that's important because Betsy Blair also said she saw him standing on platform 1. And the timing of when Richard Allen would have got to the bridge and when Betsy Blair would have got to the bridge matches. She's like 4 minutes behind him. And I'm not really sure if it's 4 minutes. I might be a little off on that. I'm just trying to remember. We'll just see when we get there. So you can see the time on the clock right there, 1:32, 59 seconds. Now, we're not walking slow at all. I mean, see how we're even catching up with the group in front of us there? Just a lovely bunch of people that were out there in front of us that day. But you can see how we're catching up to them, and their feet aren't moving slowly either. You know, see the guy on the left? He's walking at a pretty normal, natural pace. And then when we catch up to them, they start walking faster, making sure that we can't pass them on the trail for some unknown reason. But right now it's 1:33 and 46 seconds. Now, he could have got here later and walked faster, or he could have walked slower to the Freedom Bridge and, you know, walked faster, I guess, to the bridge. I mean, it's just the timing on here is something you don't know exactly how somebody was walking, but Richard Allen, by all witness accounts, was in a hurry, had his head down, and was walking quickly. He seemed like he was on a mission. As you can see, we've caught up to them, walking quickly. It's 1:34 now. And keep in mind, the trail was just kind of gravel and dirt, and there'd be leaves on it and so forth back then. I mean, the gravel off to the side is basically kind of what it was made up of back in 2017. So when people were walking, you hear a crunching sound. And eventually we try to go around them. And those people actually thought that Robert Ives was me. Poor Robert Ives, you know. So we eventually passed them. And then coming up here soon is likely the bench. Sorry for the wiggling of the camera. We had to sort of talk to those people, and I was just holding the camera, and I'm trying to kind of straighten it out a little bit, but having difficulty. But we're continuing to move and walk. I guess right here I do stop for a moment. So maybe subtract a few seconds at the end. So, you know, you can see, look at the pace that Robert's walking there. That's a pretty rapid walking pace. That's not just slowly strolling. So here is a bench. And I believe this could be the bench that the photograph was taken by two of the girls at 1:26. And remember, just a minute after that is when, just above, Richard Allen's black Ford Focus would have been driving by after it passed the Hoosier Harvest Store. So here comes us walking down the trail, but that would be Richard Allen's point of view. I have in white down here, you can see whose point of view I'm showing at the time. So when Richard Allen gets to the bridge, I actually switch over to different people's points of views as they're about to run into him. And there is a second bench, which is right here. Now, this one also could be the one that they took a photograph at, which isn't too far after the other one. So if you look up there right now, it's 1:37. This is probably around the time that Libby and Abby and Kelsey are leaving the house for them to be dropped off here. You know, the question everybody still has is, was Richard Allen there to meet up with, or to, you know, he knew that Libby was going to be there. And that's where Keegan Kline's Dropbox account seemed to be so relevant. But apparently there's no connection between Keegan Kline and Richard Allen. However, is there a connection that just isn't known yet? Like some, you know, it's analog, voice to voice. All right, now that right there on the left, that is the just a short little path that goes to the parking area across from the mirrors. And again, that used to be not quite as gravelly looking as that. It was kind of more dirt and gravel. And we're continuing to walk down the path here. It's 1:39. And this obviously isn't what it looked like out there. I have a video that Bonnie Rame filmed years ago that walks straight there. It's so shaky and rattly, but you know, you can easily make out what's going on. I'm just using what I had because we walked straight to the bridge. I think she did too, though, on hers. But you got to keep in mind that there's no foliage on the trees whatsoever. You can see quite a bit further through the trees. And, you know, one of my theories is that, or my main theory is that after Libby and Abby got to the bridge, the killer actually walked past them back towards this direction where we're at right now and waited and watched and used this perhaps right there. See up in front of us where it turns up there? I think right in that area it's possible that you can see both directions. Well, it's not just possible. You can see both directions from that spot. And that would allow him to monitor to see if anybody was coming. So after Betsy Blair turned around at the bridge and left and walked away, you know, he would walk past Abby and Libby, and perhaps he could even still see Betsy Blair for a while, and then she disappeared, and that's when he made his move. He knew at that point there wasn't a soul in front of him, and there wasn't a soul behind him that was heading towards him. And it was Abby and Libby all by themselves crossing that bridge. And he waited and waited, and when they were over halfway across, that's when he made his move. Because at that point he felt certain that somebody wouldn't make it to the start of the bridge before he corralled them on the, I think it's the southeast portion of the bridge, on the opposite side. So we're getting close to that area where you can see in both directions all the way. But again, when there was no leaves on the trees, it's even easier. It makes you wonder if back then they were using like a 4K camera. Could you have seen Richard Allen in the woods in the photograph of Abby? Because there would have been a lot more clarity in there. Because we know, as I've been saying for years, that you can't see anybody on the bridge in the first photograph that was taken on the bridge, which was taken at 2:04, according to some documents out there from the defense team. And then 2:07 was the second photograph, that was the photograph of Abby. Neither of those photographs show anybody in them other than Abby in the one. There is no, the killer is not seen. The person wearing the light blue jeans, the light blue or the dark blue jacket, and the hoodie underneath is not in any of those shots. So he's back into the woods at that point. Now there's people that think that he crossed the bridge and then he passed them again on the bridge from the other side and then turned around and came back. Law enforcement doesn't believe that either. So I don't agree with it. I've never have. That just seems so wishful thinking, to go across the bridge and then hope that somebody crosses all the way. Where over here you can see in both directions, back, behind you, and forward. Like he was probably back in this area right here. See, because even right there you can see way around the corner back there. And notice how you can see the bridge. And remember, this is when the bridge has been reconstructed. Not the bridge, excuse me. They built a platform on part of it, so I guess part of the bridge was reconstructed. And you can't really walk across it anymore. You can, I mean, you can jump over the end of the fence on the bridge at this point, but it's grown over tremendously now. It looks totally different than it used to. Now look what the time is, 1:44. All right, and we walked at a pretty decent pace. Investigators spoke with Betsy Blair, who advised she was on the trails on February 13, 2017. Video from the Hoosier Harvest Store captured Betsy Blair's vehicle traveling eastbound at 1:46 p.m. towards the entrance across from the Mears farm. Betsy advised there was no other cars parked across from the Mears farm when she parked. She advised she walked to the Monon High Bridge and observed a male matching the one from Libby's video. She described the male she saw as a white male wearing blue jeans and a blue jean jacket. She advised she was standing on the first platform of the Monon High Bridge approximately 50 feet from her. So that's where Richard was standing, not she. She advised she turned around at the bridge and continued her walk. She advised approximately halfway between the bridge and the parking area across from the Mears farm, she passed two girls walking towards the Monon High Bridge. She advised she believed the girls were victim 1 and victim 2, which are Abby and Libby. So she walked down the trail. After her vehicle was spotted at 1:46, see, it's only about 2 minutes after Richard Allen got to the bridge, her car drives by the Hoosier Harvest Store. So I guess when he got to the bridge at 1:44, she likely got there at about 1:51. So really about 6 or 7 minutes behind when Richard Allen got there. Now, if he went there and he was looking at fish, well, obviously he isn't going to be just get there, turn around, and go back. All right, so you got a picture when Betsy Blair was walking there at, if she gets there at 1:51 to the bridge, that means about 1:48, she's halfway there, right? And Richard Allen, had he got to the bridge and, looked at fish for a minute or two, turned around and went back, he would have passed Betsy Blair on the trail, and that didn't happen. So here comes Betsy Blair's vehicle right here on a 3D animation that I did using 3D Studio Max. And right there, that long, narrow set of buildings is the Hoosier Harvest Store. So she passes there around 1:46. They don't give us the seconds in it. And then up in the middle upper center is where the Mears property is, and Betsy Blair pulls in and parks. And then Betsy Blair will be getting out of her vehicle. Now I do use Bonnie Raime's video that she gave me all those years ago after Betsy Blair gets out of the vehicle. So I'm just giving it time, like 1:46, she's making sure she has everything, and then eventually she gets out. Now keep in mind, 2 minutes after this, Abby and Libby show up. So that yellow sphere right there is going to be Betsy Blair. And here's what she would have seen right there after she got out of the car. This is what it looked like back then. See the ground, totally different than the paved version that we have today. Kind of wish they hadn't changed it. And there's even a bench right there, but that's not the bench that the three girls took the photographs at. Now, Abby and Libby, they weren't there for exercise, so when they're walking, it was probably a little bit slower, you know? They're just taking pictures, walking, but their goal was probably to go to the bridge. So it's 1:47. Now remember, Richard Allen got to the bridge at 1:44 to look at some fish. So this is 1:48 now. If he had left on the path, Betsy Blair, so this is from Betsy Blair's point of view right now, would have seen Richard Allen coming towards her on the same trail. There isn't another trail out of there. You could cross the bridge, go down the hill, and go to the private drive and walk out. There's also sort of like a little bit of a hiking trail, or I'm not sure if it was a deer trail or what it was off to the left. Now it's pretty obvious trail if you go out there today. Let's see. Video from the Hoosier Harvest Store shows at 1:49 a white car matching Kelsey German's vehicle traveling away from the entrance across from the Mears farm. So there you go. Right now at 1:49, the girls have already been dropped off right now, right? And at 1:49, Kelsey's car drives by the Hoosier Harvest Store, but the girls had already been dropped off before she drove by there. So they've already been dropped off right now, because right now is when Kelsey's car drove by the Hoosier Harvest Store. So the girls, they're probably walking slow, matching the same path that Betsy Blair is right now. And she's walking, decent pace here. I always like looking at this video because it really gives you a great feeling of what it looked like out there. This was filmed in March of 2017. So this is way before any leaves would be coming back. This is exactly what it looked like in February. And it's even sunny out on this day too. Now, one thing that a lot of people say out there was it was an unusually warm day. I guess 43 degrees is maybe unusually warm for February 13th, but it wasn't like it was, really hot out. But kids, when I was a kid, I remember as soon as the sun would come out, it wouldn't matter if it was still 40 degrees or whatever, you're wearing like a t-shirt and everything, just so excited about it. But people say it was unusually warm, but I think a lot of them are conflating that because later in the week, it got up to 60 degrees and was sunny. Like even the next day it was warmer, and then it got warmer, and everybody remembers that because, man, that is crazy that in February it's 60 degrees in Indiana. But that day the high was 43. And this time of day is after the high. The high would have been probably, I'd say, like noon. Or maybe 1 o'clock, I guess. And just about to get to that part where the road curves. And I think I stick with Betsy Blair's speed here and walk. So look, it's 1:51. Now she probably was walking quicker than this, so maybe would have got there at 1 right now, maybe almost, or maybe at another 30 seconds. Because this person's just walking slowly with the camera out. So I could probably speed it up, and I think she got to the bridge between 151 and 153 is what I always put. So Richard Allen got there at 144-ish. Again, we don't know exactly. Did he walk, sit on a bench for a minute or two, then leave? I always wonder why he said when he left, he sat on a bench. Well, we know that isn't true. Like when he left, he sat on a bench. But I always wonder why he said that, and I think he says that because he knows he did sit on a bench at some point, and maybe when he walked in, he sat on a bench for a couple minutes, so he could have even got to the Monenhigh Bridge at like 146 or so, which Betsy Blair still wouldn't have seen him on the trail walking there. But I think he said that because he sat there and he was wondering if law enforcement swabbed various benches and different places to try to get DNA profiles. And he wanted to have an excuse, like, oh yeah, no, I was there. I sat there when I was leaving though. I mean, it's amazing how convenient everything became when he was interviewed the second time, where he changed the timing from 12 to 1:30, but we know that can't be true because those three girls were at the Monenhigh Bridge at 12:43 and obviously had to walk there, so probably got to the trails at 12:20, and when they walked, they didn't see the guy at all. They didn't see Richard Allen. They only saw him when they were leaving at about 1:35 as they were just about to get to the Freedom Bridge, 1:34. All right, so this is Betsy Blair. Now, picture on that first platform on the right, that's where Richard Allen is standing. And when Betsy Blair gets here, she merely gets there and turns around and stops. Now, this is Libby and Abby at this point. You know, they got dropped off, but they're walking slow. So I have it start back here, even though they're probably a little bit further, but their overall speed is slow because they're just taking pictures, talking. There's multiple photographs and videos that are on that phone that weren't uploaded. And so they're just walking down the trails here. And so the speed is slower, but eventually it kind of catches up to the time they would have passed Betsy Blair. So Betsy Blair got to the bridge at 1:53, so probably around 1:57 is when the girls would pass pass Betsy Blair. Because remember, when Betsy Blair turned around and came back, she said that while she was walking, she passed two girls. And she believes those two girls are Abby and Libby. So this is from Libby and Abby's point of view right here. And in a little bit, they'll look up and see Betsy Blair coming towards them. Although we don't get to know because Richard Allen took their lives. So I would think somewhere right up near that curve. Because remember, Betsy Blair said halfway back between the bridge and the parking area is when she passed Abby and Libby. And so that's coming up here, probably in about another 30 seconds or so. And you can even see the pace here. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's not really a slow walk. This person here, they're walking at a pretty decent pace. But again, you know, it probably depends on how tall you are. A tall person with that same pace would get a lot further. Okay, so right around in here, she passes, or they pass Betsy Blair. Libby and Abby pass Betsy Blair right around in this area, and she continues on. It could be, you know, it could even be a little bit further up here. I don't really, it's hard to say. But based on the fact that Betsy Blair's there walking with pace because she's exercising, I would say 1:57 6 is when they passed each other. And it would have been just, you know, back there a little bit, behind us. And I think the girls got to the bridge around 2 o'clock. 2-ish. And you can just picture, look at it. They're walking, sunny day, look just like this. They're probably having a great time, just laughing. Perhaps they were supposed to meet up with somebody there that day, and maybe that's how Richard Allen found out about it. You know? I mean, did anybody else know that Abby and Libby were going to be there that day? Like, it seemed like it was a spur-of-the-moment thing, but was there any kind of a communication with Libby's phone just before the spontaneity kicked in? You know what I mean? Like, how come they didn't go with Derek? Like, when Derek left, you know, maybe 15, 20 minutes before Kelsey, why didn't Abby and Libby go with him and get a ride there? Because Derek would easily give them a ride. He agreed to pick them up later. He would have given them a ride. He would have given them a ride there, and then they would have got a ride with Derek. But instead, it was like Kelsey's leaving. They're like, "Oh yeah, hey, can we get a ride to the bridge?" So you kind of wonder, was there a Snapchat communication of some kind? But you would think law enforcement would have uncovered that. Maybe there was. You know, that's what's so crazy is what if there was? Because we do have indications that that day. Based on that interrogation, but you can lie in interrogations, as people have pointed out. So I don't really know, but it was that long interview they had with Keegan Kline, where he said, or they told him that he communicated with them that day, and then one of the girls' friends of Libby told Keegan Kline, who they thought was Anthony Schatz, that, hey, did you hear what happened to Libby? And he goes, oh my God, no, what? And then he goes, I was supposed to meet him that day. Well, so this catfishing account was supposed to meet up with Abby and Libby, or at least Libby, at the bridge that day, but only didn't get to meet them because some other random killer killed them first. Does that make any sense? But then if he was supposed to meet them that day, did he show up and they just never showed up? I mean, it's, you know, those are the parts of this story I don't know, and I always wish I had an answer to. Investigators know the answers to all these questions. So here we go. The Abby and Libby showing up to the bridge. They probably see him standing over there. And then right now he's going to be passing them. He probably sees them coming, you know, so just in a moment or two he walks by, like right now. He's walking by the girls, and, you know, they might have even gotten to this point, and he sees them, and he walks past, and they're like, man, that guy's creepy. Because I guess at one point Abby says something like, yeah, is that creepy guy behind me? And Libby says, uh-huh. And that's near the end of the bridge. And so they'd obviously seen him before. And there's platform 1 right there. So here's about the time they got on the bridge. Now the timing on here, again, we don't know how fast they were moving. You know, where did they stop at various times and talk? I mean, Libby probably had to help coax Abby across the bridge, help her out a little bit. Because she was really slow. You see in that one picture, her hands are in her pocket. She's looking down, walking really carefully. That's the picture taken at 2:07. So I kind of slow the video down in here just to make it match up with the time of the photographs. Because again, we don't know what they were doing on the bridge. But I imagine they were really slow, because even at 2:07 it took them basically 6 minutes, because Abby's still not across at 2:13. So 2:07, and then all the way to 2:13, that's 6 minutes. Now, if somebody's on that bridge and they're confident, they can get across in less than 4 minutes. So it took them 6 minutes to get halfway across. Now, is that because they were just walking slowly, or was it because, they were looking at things and just taking pictures and still having fun? It looks like, Abby probably would take, I would guess, 12 to 15 minutes to cross that bridge just because she had never been there before. And let's see, kind of switched over to a different video here. This is one that I made a long time ago. So this is from Libby and Abby's point of view. I thought you guys would be interested in seeing this again. I think it really shows exactly what was going on that day. So that right there is platform 2 on the left. 3 is the one up there, just the next one on the right, where the second photograph was taken, but just a little bit past platform 2 here is when that full length of the bridge video was, or image was taken. It's that black and white shot. I think I might show it on the screen here. It was funny when I had my friend Beth go out there, or she went out there, and I had her go measure and find different things that I was looking at in the photographs. There's these vines on the bridge, and I kept wanting her to find this one specific vine. You'll see it here in a minute. It kind of has this little cross vine, and you can tell exactly which railroad tie that the full length of the bridge video was taken from, or image again, excuse me. And you'll see it here in a minute. Yeah, so it's right around in this area. And right around 2:04, goes down, takes a picture of the full length of the bridge. And that's the photograph right there. It's a wide angle lens, so it makes things look smaller in the distance. And there's Libby again. I think Libby was always in front of Abby, going across, trying to help her. Hey, come on, keep on going. And then platform 3 is where the next photograph was taken, but it was 3 minutes later, so I slowed the video down. But see right there where my mouse is? That's where that little vine is, where the actual photograph was taken. And it's distinctive because it's in the middle, and it's at a little bit of an angle. So right now, from the camera's point of view, that's where that photograph was taken. And then 3 minutes later, they're on platform 3. And I bet you, even at this point behind them, you can't see the bridge guy, or Richard Allen, a.k.a., right? I mean, it is him. He can't escape it. Betsy Blair would have seen him, and the 3 girls would have seen him earlier in his other alibi. And if the 3 girls Richard Allen saw coming in at 12, where are they? They've never come forward. So circumstantially and just timing-wise, Richard Allen doesn't have an escape from it. It is him. And I think a lot of the pro-Richard Allen people that are donating, 709 people have donated $40,000 to Richard Allen's defense fund. I think a lot of them even agree that the guy on the bridge is Richard Allen. But they're willing to give him money. I mean, it's absolutely insane. My God. We just want him to have a fair trial, Gray. We don't know if he's innocent or guilty or not. Come on. Well, where were you when Casey Anthony needed some funds? Or, hey, where were you when, you know, OJ needed some money? I mean, give me a break. So that's the photograph right there of Abby. And again, you can't see the bridge guy in that photograph. So after that third photograph, I think shortly after that is when Richard Allen made his move across the bridge. But, you know, to be nice to the Richard Allenites, we'll just say bridge guy, okay? Platform 3, they start walking. This is now, you know, 207, almost 208. I think shortly after this, I think it's possible that they might have even been a little bit further, because it only took a guy like Richard Allen to walk across that in 4 minutes. He'd been out to that bridge and the area apparently multiple times, so he'd gone out there quite a bit, so he knew how to traverse that bridge quickly. I really like this filter that's put on there. Kind of, it looks cool the way it shows different things, kind of blurs out distance. So it's 2-8. This is still Libby and Abby. And that is platform 4 on the left there. So look how clear that is, how you can see all the way down to the ground through the trees. And again, I'm just slowing this down because this is how long it took them to get from the platform number 3 to the end of the bridge. They got there at, you know, 2:13, because as you can see, and we've read that Abby is still on the bridge, you can see a little part of her outfit pop onto the 2 seconds of video that law enforcement gave. I think in 2 or 3 frames you can see a little bit of blue, and it kind of juts in and then out. And it's not really blue, it's just dark. But she is still on the bridge when that video is taken. And that's why it's cropped the way it's cropped, because they don't want to show her. So here we go. This is how I have them walking now. Look way in the background. There's the Richard Allen character now making his move. Just as they're getting to like platform 4 maybe. Might be even a little bit later than that. I would actually say closer to that tree, the bundle of trees on the right. See that cross tree on the right? That's actually the forked tree that you see behind Bridge Guy in the video, also known as Richard Allen. Yeah, so in 2 minutes they'll be at the end of the bridge. And so it's probably 1 minute ago is when Richard Allen got onto the bridge and followed them across, and they're way over on this side. And they could probably see back there, and we're probably like, let's keep going, let's go across. I don't want to pass that creepy guy on the bridge. And even if they had tried to pass, he just would have pulled out his gun earlier on the bridge. the video would have been totally different. I mean, I don't know if she would have turned her video on if that scenario had happened. And that's platform 5 right in front of us there. That is the platform you see as well in the image of Bridge Guy, aka Richard Allen. Alright, just passing platform 5. And obviously, if you turn just like that, you'd see him still walking towards them. I think in a moment here I just cut forward. So he stated he parked his car on the side of an old building. He told investigators that he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood. He advised he may have been wearing some type of head covering as well. He further claimed he saw no one else except for the juvenile girls he saw east of the Freedom Bridge. So here it is, right near the end of the bridge. He comes up on them.
Guys. Downhill. Guys. Guys. Downhill. Downhill. Guys. Downhill.
And then Richard Allen leads the girls down the hill as he just commanded them to do after pulling out a gun. Law enforcement hears a click sound, which is him putting a bullet in the chamber. And, likely he ejected that bullet at the crime scene because they found a bullet later that led to him. So then he has the girls go down the hill, which leads to the private drive, and then they go down a second hill, which leads to the lower level below the bridge, and then he forces the girls to march towards the creek. Now, I always had a theory right where they're at now was a little cove back there. That's where he initially intended to do something, but the girls maybe made a run for it across the creek, and he had to improvise and corral them on the other side of the creek, and then he did what he did. Absolute monster. Alright, so thank you all very much for watching this video. Leave a comment in the comment section and let me know if this helped you or any of your ideas and thoughts that you have on the case. Alright, so again, thank you very much for watching, and as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.